Alright, so in part 2, Ralph was in the studio and discusses with Mr. Evans, and he starts telling how it goes in groups. And now it's 1984, and they perform Mr. Telephone Man. They see a limo and they fight on where they're gonna sit. And Mike got his foot ran over, and he spits on a member saying like, "Who is ye now?" And Mike gets confronted by the security guard and gets told that it may be over for him. The parents wanted Mike out of the group, but the group wanted Mike to stay. Mike is performing his part, and the rest of the group likes and practices the song. And they get confronted by the choreographer, which Mr. Evans get confronted by the boss and the girlfriend on why the girlfriend was there. Mr. Evans brings Brooks as the choreographer, and of course, Brooks goes in and he tells Mr. Evans how he feels, and then they perform it Cool and Now, rehearsing on tour, and Mr. Evans asks Brooks to cut back and explains how they want everything to work. And Bobby tells them that they was done to have the discussion. Bobby gets caught speeding and went to jail, and Mr. Evans asking no questions on Bobby. Mr. Evans asked questions on Bobby, and Bobby answered him, and he found out that he got someone pregnant. And no, it was not Whitney, by the way, if you're wondering if that's who it was. And they leave and they go do an event with Johnny Gill and have a discussion. The security confronts Bobby and tells him that she is in labor and they were smoking weed. Malika was Bobby's girlfriend at the time, and the rest of the crew was at the hospital having a discussion about their roles in the baby's life. And then it comes to find out they had a boy. Mr. Evans confronted the crew like it was something wrong being a teenage parent, and then Mr. Evans asked the crew where was Bobby and find him doing drugs. They talk about Bobby should be more careful about his stuff and when the members was drinking on the tour bus. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew confronts Bobby, and Mr. Evans confronts the bus driver and their moms, and the members have a conversation about the whole Bobby situation. And the parents didn't like what they heard. No, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mr. Evans confronted the bus driver, and the moms and the members have a party, and they get confronted by Mr. Evans because they didn't like what they heard from Mr. Evans. Mr. Evans tells them that about the whole money issue, and they didn't like it. They did not like it. They was not with it. So they said, you know what, we're gonna take it to a vote. They find out it's no money, and they back in the deja vu. The boss of the label hosts a plaque, and Mr. Evans asks the boss for more money, and the boss agrees. And one of the members is talking to his mom, and she tells him to do whatever he needs to do to come to find out that he lost the baby, and get confronted by the other members, and they perform Mr. Telephone Man again and Cool It Down. Bobby gets mad, and he takes the mic from Mike, and of course they fought on stage. They get on the bus and they take a vote on if Bobby was going to stay in the crew. Each member stated how they feel. They voted him out. A cat comes for Bobby. In the meanwhile, the parents have a conversation about Bobby Brown's situation and gets mad, like I was saying earlier. And then eventually, also in part 2, Mike has a conversation with his homeboy and finds out about the business lifestyle. And he finds out that Mr. Evans had been cheating, the group off, telling lies to the group. And he goes into the boss label of MCA office, and he finds out, that he was actually signed to Mr. Evans and not MCA. And he lets the rest of the crew know And then they go perform. As Bobby sees him on TV doing drugs, and his mom tells him someone wants to talk to him, and then comes to find out it's the boss of MCA. And he got offered to get his own personal album. You know, he gets his own personal, he gets his own personal album. So one of the members and his girlfriend had a personal conversation, and she's telling Bobby, and he gets mad, and then, of course, Mike gives the manager the boot. Mike takes it upon himself, after talking to the group, that he's going to be the one that's going to give the manager the boot. He shows up with a lawyer and everything. Leaves the lawyer and the ex-manager have a conversation. So the group meets up, and Ralph reaches up and finds out that Ralph was working on his own album. The boss confronts Ralph and let him know what's up. And then they go to Minnesota, goes record the album, and they find out that Ralph comes to find out that Johnny was in it comes to find out that Ralph didn't know that Johnny was in the group. Little conversation, and then when the members were singing, Ralph and Jay had a conversation, and when I mean Jay, I mean Johnny. Ralph discusses how he feels, and Johnny tells him how he meets up with Mike, and he's supposed to replace Ralph, and the group records another song called Can You Stand the Rain. They go on the photo shoot and talk about the transition of the group and the rehearsal and crack jokes, and they was going to find Bobby joining on tour. And this is the end of part 2. My little summary that I have.